Hello, everybody. New Manchester here, back with another video. And before I start this video, I received a notification to my channel, and it was from the Happier Abroad YouTube channel that's run by Winston Wu. And in the notification, it talked about Winston Wu is a father, and he had a son named Angelo Wu. So yeah, so it's good that he has a it's good that he has a son now. You know you know Winston Wu, he opened my eyes on how America is. And he made me see the light. Before I do this video, I'm gonna dedicate this video to the birth of Winston Wu's son, and Winston Wu too. I'm gonna dedicate this video to him. His son is probably gonna carry on the happier abroad, gonna carry on happier abroad when Winston is long gone and he's not with us. So I'm gonna dedicate this video to him and his son. And this video is about three countries. The United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. And this video is about three of those countries. And it's like this: where can you go? Which country would you go to find human human connection with others? Where can you go to connect with other people, to talk to people, to connect with people and start a conversation with them, and make new friends, meet new people, and to find someone, well, as a guy, to find a woman that you can spend the rest of your life with. Actually, find a girlfriend or a wife. Where can you go to connect with people and start up a conversation with them, and and go to a country where it's good for your mental health and your physical health. Your diet of eating healthy, eating right, and where you won't gain so much weight. So yeah, I got three countries. And I'm gonna start with the first one, and here's the first country. Okay, the United States. And here's what the United States is all about. America has one of the worst social scenes and social cultures. There is no social or human connection with others. The environment is too socially disconnected, segregated, isolating, paranoid, and fake. It's very hard to make any normal friends. The social vibe feels very negative. Everyone wants to be left alone in their own bubbles. People don't like to meet people or connect with others. Americans act too fake, arrogant, narcissistic, and toxic, making it hard to get along with them. Conversations are usually business related only, especially with strangers. Thus, America is probably the loneliest country in the world. Otherwise, if you are genuine and down to earth, you will be alienated and out of place. But in wearing a fake mask every day, one denies one's true self, thus resulting in a split psychosis in one's inner psychic. In a consequence, one's mental health deteriorates and fragmentates. Fakeness abounds in extremes in America and prevails all aspects of its culture and life, so you can't avoid it here. America has the worst dating scene for men, for most men. The women and girls are too spoiled and given too much power, making them highly fake, arrogant, narcissistic, picky, toxic, unfriendly, and unapproachable with the worst attitudes. Thus, they are the hardest females to connect with, and the furthest thing from authenticity that you can get. Also, they are way too difficult and entitled. Their standards are way too high for most men, for they seek the top 10 or 15% of men. Since they are too independent and don't need men, they either want the best men or nothing at all. This makes America the worst dating scene for men, totally nightmarish, hostile, and loop-sided. As a result, there are more single males without dating choices in America than in any other country. The U.S. is the most mentally ill country in the world. No doubt about it. America also has the biggest mental health industry and the highest rate of antidepressant use in the world as a result. A major reason for this is that American culture is very fake and toxic. So in order to fit in, you have to become fake and toxic yourself. America has the highest rate of obesity, cancer, heart disease, and diabetes in the world. Food in the U.S. contains too many unhealthy ingredients and toxins, dangerous GMOs, generally modified organisms, and fluoridated water. Trying to eat healthy in the U.S. is too complicated and expensive at health food stores. Not only is food addictive, but Americans overeat to fill their emptiness and void as well, since they have no true social connection or shared happiness to fulfill them. Every year on the 4th of July, Americans celebrate Independence Day by going to barbecues, picnics, and watching fireworks at night or igniting them up themselves. The media claims that it's a day to celebrate our freedoms. Yet they are never clear what that means exactly. Probably because they don't want you to think too much about it. Because if you did, you'd realize that it doesn't make sense. The notion that America has special freedoms that the rest of the world doesn't, like many compellents in America, turns out to be a baseless myth upon examination. In addition, America is one of the least free countries in the world compared to most other countries. Yet Americans are brainwashed to believe that they live in the land of the free without reason or basis. Since the media and everyone else around them repeat this like a polygon matha, they assumed it must be true, so they just repeat it to go along. It's like a religion, but it's based on the faulty premise that all other countries are unfree and all under some kind of dictatorship, while America is the only country that remains free, which is totally untrue. It's just a form of mind control designated to specifically the steeple and human cattle with false ideas to keep them motivated to go to work and be productive. However, with the U.S. government and power elite taking away more America's freedoms since 9/11 and undermining the U.S. Constitution, I don't think most Americans believe anymore that America is a free country. So nowadays, on the 4th of July, they just use it as a holiday to have fun and light fireworks. So this myth of America being the land of the free is way outdated now. But people still claim it to be cool and fit in, and the corporate media still propagates it, of course, because their job is to promote the mind control of the establishment. So perhaps I'm beating a dead horse with this article. However, I still want to write this because there are many more reasons why America is not a free country. Besides tyranny of government, which is what the alternate media focuses on, that is not discussed in either the mainstream media, alternate media, or the conspiracy movement. And I want to elaborate on them here. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Why do we celebrate why do we celebrate the 4th of July? Here's what I think. I mean, in America, Americans see the 4th of July as a day where you shove barbecue, hamburgers, hot dogs down your throat and shoot off fireworks at night and watch a fireworks show. And they don't know why we celebrate the 4th of July, which is Independence Day. I guess it's Freedom Day, where you shove barbecue, hot dogs, hamburgers down your throat and watch a fireworks show at night and shoot off fireworks yourself. Like, no, I mean, Independence Day is a day on July the 4th, 1776. When we won our when we rebelled against Great Britain, and and we started off as the 13 colonies, and we got tired of paying taxes to a king in Great Britain, so we rebelled and went to war with Britain, and we defeated Britain, and the 13 colonies became the United States of America. Yeah, I mean, we won our independence in a war against Great Britain. That's why we celebrate the 4th of July. And it just said that a lot of Americans don't even know this or don't care. You know, hell, I mean, I have the flag of the United Kingdom in my house. I got it overseas at a souvenir shop in Belgium. I mean, yeah, to remind me what this how this country was created. And yeah, and we got all our customs in the language from the United Kingdom. I mean, the language that I'm speaking right now, I'm speaking English. That language wasn't created in America. Where did that language come from? It came from Britain. Well, we got it and we screwed it up. I mean, so yeah. So we celebrate the 4th of July, aka Independence Day, because we won our independence from Britain. Okay? Number 1. America has the highest number of laws in the world. More laws equal more restrictions and controls equal less freedom. Simple logic. Everything is over-regulated in America. Too much regulation takes away freedoms. In contrast, Mexico has one of the fewest number of laws. Ask any Mexican immigrant, and they will tell you that Mexico is way freer than America. No other country has as many laws as America does. Now I know some of the laws are supposed to be there to protect people, but they've gone way into overkill. Other countries are able to maintain safety without so many laws. So why can't the US? Too much over control is not a good thing. Many laws are there just to tax people and allow government to stick its nose where it doesn't belong, such as in the affairs of private families and businesses. Moreover, too much government control or state planning has never been good for economic growth, as history has shown. Number 2, the size of the U.S. government has increased in size by 20 times since the dawn of the 20th century. The size of the government has grown like a huge monster out of control. Unfortunately, governments don't like to decrease in size because politicians don't want to lose money. That's why the founding fathers of America emphasized that government should be small and limited with mineral powers. What the U.S. government, media, and America historians don't like to tell you is that when the Roman Empire officially fell in 476 AD, many Roman citizens were glad because at the time the Roman government has grown to a monstrous size and was overtaxing and over controlling everyone. And they got sick of it. The U.S. government is doing the same thing now, but they don't want you to know that because it's not to their advantage. The idea size of government was the way it was during the 1800s, when the U.S. government was a small size and did not bother people much. It had a very laissez-faire type of approach, which allowed people a lot more freedoms and economic growth. With small government came little need for taxes. Thus, there was no income tax and no inflation. In fact, the value of the dollar remained stable throughout the 1800s, and by the end of the century actually has risen in value, thus technology resulting in deflation. Back then immigrants could come to America without any passports, visas, or immigration customs to deal with. They just get off the ship and go wherever they want afterward. Now that was the kind of government that Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers had in mind, which was nothing like the huge overwhelmed type of government that we have today. Number 3, the U.S. has one of the highest cost of living in the world. Compared to the other 200 countries, the U.S. is definitely in the top tier when it comes to expensive cost of living. Prices and cost are way too high, and so is inflation. In the 20th century, the US dollar lost 95% of its value. In contrast, during the 1800s, there was no inflation and the dollar was worth more at the end of the 1800s than at the beginning. Higher cost of living means that one has to work more and be a slave to their job more, with less free time to do what they want. There's not even time for personal growth. What's the point of living when all you do is work to make a living? That's there to live for. It's pointless. You are just a slave hamster on a treadmill. Being a debt slave is not living freely. As we all know, money can't buy freedom if one has enough of it. Thus, a higher cost of living means that people have less capacity to buy their freedom since their money is worth less. This insane rising cost of living in the U.S. is most likely deliberately planned. Here's why the U.S. is known to have the biggest gap between rich and poor. So it is in the interest of the wealthy elite class to keep the poor in America poor, so they do not rise up and become too competitive, which would undermine the immobilism of the upper class and drive prices down. This inhibits the freedom of upward mobility in America. This would also explain the deliberate dumbing down of America in the public education system, which insider whistleblowers such as Charlotte Eason has revealed. As Jordan Maxwell said, what the government pays for, it gets. Logic will tell you that if the government didn't get what it wanted, it would change things. Matrix of power and zenith. But of course, the public is not told about such things. They are merely part of a system of mass social engineering behind the scenes, one of their techniques in human livestock management, so to speak. Also, the government needs to maintain a poor class or elite. No one enlist in the U.S. Armed Forces. If you do the research, you will find that most people join the U.S. military out of economic need, not for patriotism or a desire to serve one's country. What's ironic is that the U.S. publicly promotes that it's trying to defeat freedom abroad while not being able to provide freedom at home. So you see, even what freedom you have in America are being slowly undermined behind the scenes without the public's knowledge or approval. Number 4. America has the highest prison population in the world. Currently, there are 2 million people incarcerated in American prisons. 2 million. That's crazy. No other country has anywhere near that amount in prison. Only in a dysfunctional, insane, crazy, toxic, repressed society would that many people be in prison. How can the alleged freest country in the world also has the biggest prison population as well? That's a huge oxymoron that doesn't make sense. Obviously, there is a chasm of difference between what America says and what it is. Also, there's mentally ill people in prison as well. They don't belong in prison. They belong in mental institutions. Number 5, U.S. social culture is way too politically correct, which greatly reduces your ability to speak freely and honestly. It is a restriction on free speech. From what I heard back in the 1970s, there was no political correctness. People were free to be as honest as they wanted, so they could speak their mind freely and from the heart. Even if someone has something negative to say, honestly, is always better than suppression and repression. So America has become a lot less free since the 1970s in terms of free speech and freedom to be yourself. In other countries where there is less political correctness, one feels a lot freer. I know I did, so did many others I know. The overbearing political correctness in modern America, coupled with the high level of fear and paranoia in people, makes America a very socially unhealthy and repressed culture in people. But political correctness is not there to help protect people, though. It's there as a first stage of controlling the masses. You see, once you restrict free speech in the name of cultural sensitivity, it then becomes easier to take away other freedoms and put in more control. To take away freedom, you do it in small steps so that each subsequent step becomes easier for people to take. That's how the ruling elite impose their will when it's unpopular. By doing this gradually, it increases. They've always done it this way. Americans are not taught to see such things. Instead, they are taught to celebrate their personal freedoms on the 4th of July and believe that people in the military are serving our country and all that hogwash, etc. Number 6, American social culture is fake, artificial, phony, and toxic, which doesn't allow you to be your true self. Starting from high school, teenagers learn to act very phony and artificial, like posers. They have to do so in order to be cool and have friends. Otherwise, they will become misfits and social outcasts. If you are authentic and down to earth, you will be seen as environmental and lacking in social skills, when in reality, you just don't like acting fake and artificial. It's very upside down. This is how the typical American fake personality forms. Children are born with genuine personalities, but beginning in high school, they are gradually modified into the fake social persona that is required to fit into American social culture. This carries on into adulthood. Only older folks and senior citizens can afford to be down to earth again, because at their age they no longer are trying to confront or fit in. Plus, seniors of today come from a generation where Americans were more down to earth than today. That's true. That's true. Um, Not all old people are like this. My dad is still my dad's still brainwashed. He thinks that America is great and other countries are not. My dad told me about the United Kingdom and other countries. He said this about the United Kingdom. Um, um, Racism is nasty in the United Kingdom, and black people are called a walk and a bear, and racism is nasty. And he's told me that black people from Britain said that the United racism in the United States is so mild. So that's how my dad thinks. And plus, he called Winston Wu a terrorist after he took me to see after he took me to see all those therapists. Yeah. The social culture is also very toxic in that it undermines your self-esteem and tries to tear you down, making you feel insecure and inaccurate. Deep down, no one feels inaccurate for themselves in America. They always feel like they aren't good enough and have to prove themselves. So they compensate by acting tough, arrogant, bragging a lot, bullshitting a lot, and developing big egos. In contrast, when you go abroad, you will notice that people are far more modest and humble, and do not have to act that way. This can only mean that foreigners come from social cultures that are not as toxic and do not tear down their self-esteem the way Americans does. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the way Americans act, even when they're being friendly, seems very artificial, superficial, and hollow. If you've never left America, you might not notice it much. But once you spend more time abroad, where people tend to act more down to earth and genuine, you will then realize how phony Americans really act. Yeah, I left America and I went overseas. When I came back, I noticed all of this. Also, if you are a deep thinker or have a deep soul, you will notice it as well, because phoniness is a deep thinker's pet peeve. They can see through it with the eyes of a hawk. In fact, people who are deep thinkers tend not to like America because American culture is perceived on a great deal of fakeness, phoniness, hype, lies, and illusion, not truth. Instead, they tend to prefer Europe, where the cultures are more conducive to being intellectual, foreseeable, and genuine, and the people tend to be more down to earth and authentic. The consequence of this is that when you develop a fake, artificial social personality in America in order to fit in and be accepted, it separates you from your true authentic self, which becomes superseded in the process. As a result of this psychological schism between your fake social self and your true authentic self, you experience a deep interfragmentation, which in turn leads to mental imbalance and interconflict. This, I believe, is the primary cause of many forms of mental disorders in America. And it's why you see so many crazy, messed up people in America and depressed degenerates everywhere, except in the urban areas. And that is the cause of men going on mass shootings. In addition, Americans are raised to believe in many contrary things, which screws them up psychologically. For example, they are taught that they are free individuals in a free country, yet they are so taught that they must conform to society and adapt all of its strict rules, laws, and boundaries. And at work, they're required to conform to their work culture and become subsidiaries, slaves to their jobs. To give another example, many Americans are raised with good Christian values, but then in the adult world, they are taught that profit is king and that greed is good. Like two muscles that become damaged when they rub against each other. Their minds become damaged by such conflicting beliefs. Yeah. I think a lot of super religious people, they act religious, and it's like this. I mean, they go to church, they thump a Bible, they thump a book, they read scriptures out of a book that has Holy Bible printed on the front of it, and they jump up and down and say, "Thank you, Jesus, oh Lord." And after that, they go around and they just screw people and do wrong to other people. So yeah, and I have a cousin who lives in Long Beach, California. Her name is Teresa, and she's originally from Georgia. One of my cousins married her, and she's so super religious, but at the same time she's so fake in what she's saying. I mean, and she's so absorbed by the lifestyle of America. So she's full of it. I used to talk to her on the phone, but I saw how she is, so I don't talk to her anymore. Yeah. This is why American travelers and expats feel that when they go abroad to foreign cultures, which are more down to earth and authentic, they feel more free because they are free to be themselves again. They are free to reunite with their authentic self again, which was suppressed in America. As a result, they experienced a feeling of liberation that they've never felt in America. and they realized that America was a psychological prison all along. As a result, when they returned to the US, they experienced reverse culture shock, because once they come back, they are faced with imprisonment again by the phony, toxic American social culture. Yep, that's how I felt when I came back. It hit me like a ton of bricks. So yeah, and I saw a lot of shrinks on top of all of that. Number 7, the social vibe in America is permeated with high levels of fear and paranoia, creating segregation between people and making the country socially unfree. America also feels very socially unfree in that there is this high level of fear and paranoia between people, even between neighbors, which creates social suppression. You can feel it. You can feel it in the social vibe and energy of most places, which does not feel positive at all. There is this unnatural fear of strangers and this ice wall between strangers. People seem cold and distant. Out in public, people don't talk to strangers unless it's business related. Communications is strictly for business only. There is no feeling of social or human connection at all, and no calibrated between people. Instead, the atmosphere is one of cold isolation, which easily leads to loneliness. You also get this sense that people don't like other people and prefer to get away from others. It's very antisocial and uptight, to say the least, and it rubs off on you too. The only smiles you get are from customer service people who fake their plastic smiles to get you as part of their job. Socially speaking, you feel shut down from other people unless you have a good social network, which is not easy to get and requires a great deal of fakery and conformity to attain. The thing is, humans are not meant to be not meant to be solitary creatures. We are meant to be interpreted, have friendships and social connection with others. It is an integrated part of our happiness. Yet this is greatly inhabited in America, as explained above. America falsely teaches that one should not need others, but be independent from others. Needlessly to say, trying to make friends in America is one of the hardest things. What this means is that America is very socially unfree, and that you do not have the freedom to socially connect with others. What's worse, American families and friendships seem to lack any feeling of closeness, especially compared to Asian and Hispanic families, which are much more close kin and remain so for life. White American families seem more like a clique of friends than a real close-knit family, and do not remain close throughout life. It's hard to explain, but around American families, it gets this feeling of superficiality and hollowness, which feels very empty. Maybe it's because I have a deep soul and I am different from them. You're not even allowed to flirt in America anymore. Flirtation is seen as creepy, inappropriate, and taboo in modern America. However, flirtation was normal, cool, and accepted in America prior to the mid 80s, and in most foreign countries today, it still is. But after that, it somehow became a bad, creepy thing. People who grew up during the 70s and 80s know this. But no one dares to talk about this or have an explanation for why that is. In modern America, you are not even supposed to have desires to flirt. If you do, you are considered a creep, a pervert, and a bad person. Perhaps that's why no one dares to talk about it. It's a taboo. This is way too uptight, unnatural, and no fun. Number 8, people in modern America seem repressed, robotic, and zombie-like. Like they have no soul or arc, no alive. Perhaps this is why zombie movies and video games are so popular nowadays, because Americans identify with the zombies because they've become like zombies themselves. It's likely part of the elite agenda to pacify people and dumb them down with mindless entertainment and distractions. People seem numb, like they are just going through the motions with no feeling or passion. It's like they are not human or alive anymore. What this means is that you are not free to be alive in America. But it wasn't like that long ago though. Americans were more human and natural in the past. I talked to people who grew up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they agree that people in America changed greatly. With each decade, Americans gradually became cold, soulless, guarded, unfriendly, unsocial, hateful, jeering, spoiled, standoffish, cynical, snobby, and began to dislike others. All of a sudden, there was no longer a sense of closeness between family and friends. It was like a wave of energy swooped across the nation and changed people, but a few people like me were immune to it for some reason and remained unchanged. The science fiction movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1978, where people were replaced by alien clones with no feeling or emotion, seemed to have already happened in America. Perhaps that film was a foreshadowing, either deliberately or as a message for higher foes above. Of course, if you are a cold, unfeeling, soulless person yourself, you may not see anything wrong with this, nor will you suffer from it. It's only when you are soulful, passionate, romantic, and full of feeling like I am that you suffer and feel out of place by this. Also, if you've never left America, you may assume that being cold, disdained, and disconnected from others is normal. But once you start traveling or living in foreign countries where there is natural, inherent social and human connection, you realize that is not normal at all, and that America has somehow become very socially dysfunctional. Instead of the natural social connection that most other cultures have, American social atmosphere is permeated by immense fear and paranoia. That's not a good or healthy thing at all, and it rubs off on you eventually, even if you're not like that. Okay. Conclusion. So you see, the notion that America is the land of the free is baseless and unwarranted. It's just a religion myth that's repaired over and over again in the U.S. media, education, and culture until people assume it is true. It's a form of cult-like brainwashing on a national scale, and it's kind of creepy how effective it is, like something from the Twilight Zone. Okay, so that's the United States. Okay, the next country is Canada. I received a notification from Shadow Assassin 88, and this is what he says about Canada. What's annoying about Canada is the people in general, and keep thinking they're better than Americans and nicer, which I'll tell you right now, Canadians are not nice at all. Okay. Okay, that's true. And here's something to back up what he's saying. Okay, here it is. I always get told that how people in Canada must be super polite and nice people from people that I know overseas, but that is not so true. Canadians are not friendly like you think they are, so you have to live here and get used to what they really are like. Canadians are no better or worse than anyone else in the world. I don't believe in the myth of the polite Canadian. They're as rude or nice as anyone else. This is not a rant. This is to let you know to not be confused to thinking that being polite is being friendly. The reputation of all Canadians being friendly or nice people seems to be vague. We're not that friendly or polite either. This image emphasizes Canadians. We are more polite than average, but we're also the most passive aggressive people to ever come across. We act more polite, but are still just as mean. It's just expressed in a different way from Americans. Most of us avoid confrontation at all cost. Quebecers accepted. If we disapprove of somebody, we won't say or do anything at the time. Afterwards, we will discuss among ourselves how bad / rude / horrible it was and be very judgmental about it. We will retell the story to everyone we know, and they will probably tell everyone they know, so they're passive aggressive. So we're passive aggressive. It's much more fun than the in-your-face style. However, Canada is a beautiful country, and there are some friendly and nice people. Just not all of us. Although I've yet to meet a nice Canadian. Instead, some of us seem to be highly opinionated and in a bad mood every day. Okay. Just so you know, Canadians weren't the ones who started up that stereotype about polite Canadians. To the best of my understanding, I got started around a century ago by another country about timid Canadians not being aggressive enough, of being rather cowardly wusses by comparisons with that other country. Then when that was inspiritually proven to be not true, and it became evident that Canadians punch above their weight when requested, i.e. World War I and World War II. From there, it gradually developed into the stereotype of Canadians being polite and quiet-mannered. I wouldn't say Canadians are more or less polite than anyone else in the Western world, but I don't think most Canadians keep their cool and aren't quite as brash and ignorant and loud-mouthed as some other non-Canadian people are when they do speak their minds. The non-Canadian people, Americans. I don't care if other people want to believe that Canadians are polite. I can think of a lot of much worse things to have a reputation for. Okay, on Canada, what I just read, did that match up with Shadow Assassin 88's comment? Okay, in the last country, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I've gotten this comment from one of my subscribers. His name is Damien. He's from the United Kingdom, and this is what he said about England. When I'm about to read, I don't know if this applies to Wales and Scotland or Northern Ireland. But I'm gonna read this anyway, and here's the comment from Damien. New Manchester. Yes, there are differences in the way people act in the north and south of England. Typically, the north is more warm, friendly, and down to earth, and are more likely to start conversations with you. I lived in Manchester for a time, and it was just like that. Plus, the pace of life was slower, which suited me better. I hope to one day return to living up north again. However, the South has its advantages, well, mainly London, to be prescribed where I was raised is more multicultural and cosmopolitan. Plus, you get better weather down south. Lalo. As for your subject matter, I think social media is partly responsible for this. People have selfish motivations and are about themselves trying to one up each other. Anyway, take it easy. Speak soon. Yeah. 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 Right back at you, Damien. So, so I just read about all three of these countries: the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. So, which one of these countries would you go to start up a conversation with somebody to find social or human connection with others, and make friends, um get a girlfriend or a wife, um and be happy. I mean in a country that where it's good for your mental health and your physical health. And yeah, yeah. So which one of these countries would you be happy in? All right. Just leave your comment. Just leave your comment and tell me. All right. This is the new Manchester saying this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.